It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. We'll get to more of the speeches from the GOP convention last night. Tom Homan coming up here. He is, if you've ever seen him, we've played him before, former ICE director under, I guess he was temporary ICE director during the Trump administration and has worked in immigration and customs enforcement, law enforcement officer his entire life. And he's the one that took nothing from the Democrats. He just, I think, remember he went after AOC one time?
Yeah.
Oh, he just went after AOC.
Yeah.
This guy takes no prisoners when he is a witness before Congress.
Right.
And so we'll get to him coming up in a little bit. But when we talk about, where the race is right now, I don't know how much this is going to affect the race at all. But when we talk about incompetence, Peggy Noonan of the Wall Street Journal wrote, I believe early on, it had to be in the first 6 months of the Biden administration, when his numbers started going down, that it seems like everything is broken.
Yeah.
And it still seems like everything is broken. And we can look at inflation, we can look at the border, and you say, yep. But I think one of the things that might hit America where they'll go, oh my God, was again the assassination attempt. And then the explanation afterwards. There's no way Americans accept, and I can guarantee there are Democrats that think the same way, because if you have that much of a disaster of what happened, and the fact that 130 yards away on a roof, 130 yards away, and the thing is, when Americans see the picture, because all Americans are into this now. It's all over the place. The animation of Trump's head was turned just, slightly different. He'd be dead right now. And then here's where Trump is. Here's the view of where that building is. You see the building, you're like, well, there is no excuse. There's no excuse. And the point heard yesterday and the day before was the response of Kimberly Cheadle, number one, that wasn't our responsibility. It's it's a responsibility of local law enforcement. No, everything is a responsibility of the Secret Service.
Yep.
You may give authority or tell certain local law enforcement agencies that you're cooperating with, you guys are in charge of this over here, but you're ultimately in charge.
Yes.
And if it isn't the case, if you just sit there and say, oh, we only care what's here, see that thing 130 yards, that's not our responsibility, and you walk away, well, then change it, because we really don't want quiet quitting in the Secret Service. That's really not something that we want. But Americans don't understand that. They look at that. And then the whole slope thing, which was just the most bizarre thing to come out.
It's the lamest excuse.
And then the memes that started coming out yesterday, because when you start mocking it, when everybody becomes the Babylon Bee. I mean, the memes that I saw yesterday that really hit with me was, did you see the cow on the roof? It's like, wow, a cow can walk on a sloped roof. Yeah. And I don't know where the picture was from. Farmhouse or something, but there's a cow walking on the roof, and it's
wasn't that from a flood or something? I think there was a cow that was on a roof during a flood. And it's I'm not sure if it was the same one you saw, but it is, again, these are individuals who are human shields. But there's a slight slope here, and a ladder's involved.
Right. Well, and then the other meme out there, and you chuckle because her explanation was so bizarre. It was so bizarre to the point of, you're fired. You're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone now. There is no, we're going to still bring you before Congress, but you're fired, and they wouldn't do it now. They did tell her to shut up, I heard. Department of Homeland Security said, we're going to be the spokespeople.
Yeah.
She's not going to say anything. I can't. I have the video and there's audio of it, but you can't hear anything because it's at the convention where Republican senators chased her down and are really laying into her, and she's not really answering any of the questions.
Right.
She's just sort of looking at them. So James Comer, there's a subpoena out, and she's agreed, and she'll testify next week. But when you get to the point where there was the one meme out there that says, "Sorry, kids, it's a sloped roof," and it's Santa not going through the chimney.
Yeah.
You know, you see stuff like that. Then the other one was, and it shows Tom Cruise on the phone. And on the other end of the line, it goes, "Your mission, should you decide to accept it." And then Tom Cruise says, "Excuse me, but did you just say there's a sloped roof?" Yeah. I mean, all these things that come in because of the ridiculous statement that she made. But I just wonder how much it affects, because any Democrat right now, even if they don't like Trump, they might be looking at this going, well, if they were this, if they are in such a mess where this happens with Trump, who's to say it's not happening with Biden?
Well, that's the problem ultimately is, you know, they're in such a mess right now. The entire party doesn't know where to go. The Democratic Party is absolutely lost, and they are. Remember when I used to say that it sounds like 1,000 kids in a gymnasium screaming all at once?
Yep.
And now it's 10,000 in the same small gymnasium, but they're all screaming at the beginning, "He needs to step down," and then you ask them what to do about it, and now they're all screaming different things. And that's exactly how this whole thing's going to play out.
And you talk about a war and success of a war. That can be maybe a little bit complicated for people to understand. All right, what is the situation in Ukraine? You know, Zelensky, what's he actually doing? What's the United States doing? What precisely? Oh, okay, it gets too complicated. This is very simple. Secret Service, you protect the president. Your human shields, and you check out any single spot where any sniper might be able to take out the president or a presidential candidate. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not hard. And so when you see 130 yards away, and when you see the photos, because there's so much focus on it, and you look at it, every single American says, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
Right.
Who's in charge? Because you sit there and say there's got to be somebody in charge of that, that particular rally who says, all right, we have our meeting. Here it is. Here's a satellite photo. Here's the drone photos, the day or two before. What do we got to check out? That building, that building, that building, that building, that building, that building, that building.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, the report that came out yesterday that they knew he was there and they didn't stop the president from coming out.
Oh, they could have given the president plenty of warning. Don't take the stage. You can't take the stage. We've got to clear something.
Right.
And they didn't do that.
Everything went wrong to the point where you can understand people saying this isn't incompetence. It had to be a plot.
Right.
Now, there's no evidence that it was a plot. But you look at it and you go, yeah, but how can the Secret Service of the United States be so inept? It's not possible for them to be this bad. It has to be a plot because they can't be this bad. Well, yeah, they can.
Yeah. Yeah, they can.
And at that point, you look at it and say, a lot of stuff is complicated. Infrastructure, welfare. I mean, you could look at all these different Medicare, healthcare, everything else. But this is simple. Protect that guy. Protect that guy or gal who is a president, vice president, presidential candidate. When you get to a certain level, you protect these people. That's your only goal. 130 yards out, clear sight line to the former president of the United States.
Oh, and a guy came in, by the way, and entered earlier with a rangefinder. And they know exactly what a rangefinder is.
Yes. Yeah, and there is no excuse for it. And then after it happens, the excuses that you get. Oh, well,
There was a slope.
There was a slope.
It was somebody else's problem. The buck stops with me, but not, but that wasn't my buck. It's not the same buck. It's a different buck because the local police should have done that.
And then it also the DEI part of it, too. The agents around the president weren't big enough.
Right.
In order to protect him, the former president wasn't big enough. And the entire discussion of DEI, when we know that is a core principle of the head of the Secret Service.
Yep.
And there's no excuses. There is no, well, we need to make things fair. It's, this should have never happened. That shot should have never, ever been taken. This was, because everything is suspect. Are you going to feel safe if you're a presidential candidate right now and you go out anywhere? I'm not.
Well, Trump and Vance are going to have one this weekend.
I know.
They're going to have a rally this weekend. And then we hear the reports, too, of there had been concerns issued with having outdoor rallies and everything else. You're the firewall. The United States Secret Service is the firewall. You know it's going to be an outdoor rally. And how do you not approach it with every human here that we see and don't see is a threat? Ready? Go.
Exactly.
And well, he got in with a rangefinder, but, he just could have been doing that for a camera. I didn't hear that excuse, but I'm waiting for somebody to say it.
There were so many failures and so many completely obvious that somebody who is a layperson who has no expertise on security can look at it and go, what are you, out of your minds?
Yeah, you're insane.
That was right there. It's open. It looks like, in fact, you look around, it looks like the clearest shot you could possibly get would be off that roof.
Well, there's the thing. People are looking at this going, of course, there are conspiracy theories saying this is a setup. Because it looks like it was set up and designed to give the shooter every advantage possible.
I know, yeah.
The more we learn, the more that is the case.
And so, at the minimum, that's what the American public's looking at. Everything's broken, and they can't even protect. They can't even protect the leading presidential candidate from something that is so incredibly obvious. Well, if they can't protect him, they can't protect the president.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then that's the point. Is everything broken? Is everything been destroyed?
Right.
By this administration and therefore liberalism?
Well, no, I mean, that's a great point. The mindset has to be coupled with everything that's going on here. There's no way to point at one without the other.
Right. And DEI was a part of that, and that's
DEI
part of liberalism.
is a part of that, and we don't care about getting the job done. We care about who's in those roles. Or they only should be in those roles if they can get the job done, and I don't care who they are. I don't care what their background is. I don't care what their gender is. I don't care what their nationality is. If they're not fit mentally and physically for the job, the answer is no. A friend of mine was ATF. And he went and he applied for the CIA. They shredded his application at the end of the conversation in front of him. He said, man, that's brutal. And he was UC. He was undercover at ATF. And there's a lot of traumatic things that he still today deals with as a result of being undercover, as you can possibly imagine, being in the worst case scenarios with the most evil people on the planet at times. And he thought, okay, then maybe this is a way for me to transition and do something else and be an analyst or do something else. But there are standards, or at least there were, up to a point, there were standards. And sorry, that's just the way it is. It should be that way for the military. It should be that way for the Secret Service. It should be that way for law enforcement. On every single level, if you're not right for the role, you as an individual are not right for the role for any reason, the answer is no. You have to pass that test 100%. There's a reason the Navy SEALs see such a high rate of failure during the training. Because there are very few people that can get through it. Mentally is the biggest part of that, the mental game of all of that training that they go through. Well, all of it, at every level of anything specialized in law enforcement, when you're a human shield and you're shielding the president, a former president, a vice president, their families, candidates, there is no option. Our friend Dan Bongino said it. There is no option for failure.
No. 866-98 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Excessive July heat in parts of the country is beginning to impact pasture and rangeland conditions nationwide. According to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey,
U.S. rangeland and pasture is 41% good to excellent, down 3 percentage points from the previous week. Meanwhile, a fairly sharp increase in the very poor-to-poor ratings. The current number on July 14th, 29%, up 4 points from the previous week.
Flash drought in the mid-Atlantic and southeast, combined with growing dryness in the west, are the factors behind the decreasing pasture and rangeland condition numbers. Yet,
we have continued to see reasonably lush conditions in many areas of the country,
with most Midwestern states recording pasture and rangeland condition ratings of 70% or higher, very good to excellent.
In spite of the western heat, we still see a couple of states holding on with good to excellent pasture ratings above 70%, Utah and Idaho.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, when you look at these numbers here, Eric, nearly two-thirds of Democrats want Biden out.
Yeah.
They want him to withdraw from the presidential race. 65% of Democrats oppose Biden's reelection campaign. Only 35% support it. Could you imagine if he stays in? Will he get booed? Look, they booed God.
I asked that question a month ago or a month and a half ago. Are they going to boo him if he stays in?
Would he get booed? Because this would be a month from now. Campaign money will have dried up.
What have you seen this week so far? It's typically what you will see, and that is, okay, it's convention week. You're rallying around the nominee, and especially when you pretty much have across-the-board support of the nominee from the party, then everyone is, ending their speech. That's why it's important we elect, our nominee. The speaker's on stage at their convention, even if he's not there. If he doesn't get out, that's why it's important to, I guess, reelect Joe.
From what I know, the delegates pay their own way in hotel and everything.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, not Gary McNamara. Just laughing at what you said right before we went to break.
Huh. What's that? I forget.
Oh, we were talking about the leader of ICE and quiet quitting, and not ICE, the Secret Service, and all that. It was just humorous. I mean, we're talking about the memes and the Santa Claus not wanting to go down the chimney because of the slope, and the cow on the house with the slope and everything else.
Okay, private sector this, and we'll do this. You call a roof repair guy, and he shows up and goes, "Oh, your roof has a slope." I don't do slopes. It is honestly
my God,
embarrassing. No wonder they told her to keep quiet.
Yeah. But I wonder how something like that, because it is something that has gone through all of popular culture, when there's that many memes on something like that, when I saw the cow on the roof, I went, whoa. And when I saw the Mission Impossible meme with Tom Cruise, and it's like, your mission, if you decide to accept it, there's Tom Cruise talking to the phone. Oh, wait a minute, the roof has a slope? Well, we can't do it. It shows the absurdity. You know, that kind of absurdity is the same kind of thing that the radical transgender movement is trying to convince you of.
Right.
That a man can be a woman if the man says so. Everybody knows it's ridiculous. Everyone knows that roof being exposed and the line of sight to former President Trump would be the first thing that you would cover. You know, outside the perimeter of anything that, you know, is a possible sniper's nest because of the height of it and the direct line of sight to the president. First thing you'd be thinking of was that roof. And for her to give that excuse, there's been a number of excuses. Well, somebody didn't show up for work. You heard that one, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
I mean, it's almost like we're talking to third graders. Why didn't you do your homework?
Well,
and I just wonder, because with me, I just went, that's the perfect example of Peggy Noonan's column from 3 years ago. Everything is broken. Everything seems to be broken. And a lot of things are complicated, and people are like, I don't know if I want to go through the minutia of understanding this. This is simple for everyone to understand.
We all know what the Secret Service is.
Yeah.
Again, just like with lawfare, we know how the basics of law work. With this, we know the basics of it because we watched enough movies and TV. Maybe we've got friends or family that have, some experience in working close with it or something like that. But certainly we've seen enough of it. We know what the job is of the Secret Service. Anybody who's been around. And to come up with these kind of excuses, I wouldn't have said anything. I would have said, we have a very full stop. Nothing more than the following. We had a very serious situation, an attempted assassination of a former president and presumptive nominee. And we are absolutely looking into everything that went on that day. There will be a full investigation. We now know the Inspector General is doing an investigation and has opened that investigation. We will not comment until that investigation is complete. And trust me, we will get to the bottom of every detail from that day. And you leave it right there. When you start making excuses, it sounds like you expect people to go, oh, a slope. Okay.
What you're saying
Okay,
is
a slope.
What you're saying is she should have done a Mayorkas.
Yep. We're doing an investigation, and we're not going to say anything about it until the investigation is done. And because you can't say anything. But when you start making the excuses, that's really when you sound like Mayorkas. Well, we had a slope. No, the border's secure. No, the border's secure. It's secure for anybody who wants to come across. It's very secure for the people that want to come across.
Yeah, but the slope is what destroyed. And if you were wondering about her,
That's
the wondering
excuse.
stopped after the slope.
Yep,
Then the border secure, for Mayorkas.
Yeah.
When obviously the border secure for Mayorkas was like mostly peaceful protest.
Mm-hmm. And it's the same kind of lie that you just have to come up with because in your mind, you think people are going to go, a slope. Oh, okay. Well, she says there was a slope, so it's over. But this is the same Secret Service that says, we looked into the cocaine at the White House. We really don't know where it came from, and we're not going to do anything further about it.
All right, the border. One of the speakers last night, 34-year veteran of ICE, was an interim director of ICE during the during the Trump administration. Tom Homan, you probably have seen him. If you're a long-time listener to the show, we've played his back and forth and how he has gone after Democrat members of Congress who apparently don't understand immigration law in this country. Let's put it this way. He is extremely blunt.
Yeah.
Here's part of his speech from last night.
Thank you. How you doing? My home state, New York. Where's New York at? Give me a shout. Damn right. Look, for those who don't know me, my name is Tom Homan. I began my career as a Border Patrol agent in 1984. After 34 years, I became the first director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, that actually came up through the ranks. I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I've worked for said they're going to secure the border. President Trump actually did it. He created the most secure border in our history, and that's a stone cold fact. The data proves it, and guess what? He's going to do it again. Under President Trump, we cut illegal immigration by 90%, the lowest level in 45 years. Deportations rose to the highest level ever, including historic numbers of illegal alien gang members and criminals. Most importantly, 4 years under President Trump, we had 13 people we arrested on a terrorist watch list. Joe Biden, 381. And let's remember, we got over 2 million known gotaways. How many of them came from a country that sponsored terrorism? God help us. Biden is the first president in American history to come into office and unsecure a border. Who the hell does that? On their first day in office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris suspended deportations. They stopped the border wall. They canceled Remain in Mexico. They reinstated catch and release. They proposed amnesty for millions, along with free health care. And now we have a record illegal immigration, a record number of women and children being sex trafficked, a record number of Americans dying from fentanyl, a record number of known as suspected terrorists sneaking across our border. And here's what you need to know. This isn't mismanagement. This isn't incompetence. This is by design, and it's a choice. It's national suicide. But you know what? On November 5th, the American people do have a choice, and they're going to stop this madness. I got a message. As a guy who spent 34 years deporting illegal aliens, I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country in violation of federal law. You better start packing now. You're damn right. because you're going home. I got another message to the criminal cartels in Mexico. You smuggled enough fentanyl across this country to kill 148,000 young Americans. You have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. And that's when President Trump gets back in office. He's going to designate you a terrorist organization, and he's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done. You're done. President Trump is going to end the Biden-Harris open border madness. We will stop the drugs and the crime from pouring in your neighborhoods. President Trump has proven to the American people that he's a warrior. And he's going to make America safe again, and you can take that to the bank.
Like I said, blunt.
Yeah, I love it. I'm guessing his speech was approved by the presumptive nominee, because you know what else he's going to do? Everybody gets $1 billion. No, it's the reason I say that is because he's speaking from the heart, Tom Homan, but he's also speaking from the experience.
Yeah,
and his heart is built on that experience, and I know that. I know people that have been in his place. My friend Raul Ortiz, who's now retired, living literally on a beach. He is, and so many agents, people that I've known since I was kids, that became agents, that fought the good fight to keep our borders secure. That experience becomes everything of who they are. You have to, you live it every single day. There's only one way to do it right, and that's the only way to do it, is that you have to put your all into it. It's what you hear from Tom Homan here. And it's why he doesn't let anybody slide, because you can't. It's everything. Our sovereignty is everything, and we absolutely must get the border under control. For those living in the blue cities that are now border cities, you know this. Now you've been a part of it long enough now, and you've shared what all of my friends growing up in Del Rio have always known. And that is, this has to end. It was never this bad when I was growing up, and now we are at catastrophic levels, and it must end. There's no choice.
86690 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just saw this meme about the Secret Service. Well, that's what it relates to, from the Babylon Bee. Goliath claims he only lost because he fought David on slightly sloped surface. But that's the point is, once it makes pop culture, once the mocking starts, gets to this point, which only took a couple of days, because of the absurdity of what she said. If she's not gone, again, it taints that this administration. And this, I think, this is why the Secret Service thing is bigger than people might think in changing some hearts and minds.
No, it's a great point.
Because it's something that's so obvious, and it's just a microcosm or an example of what's wrong with this administration.
It's the
they can't do anything right.
Yeah, it's the incompetence that runs all throughout this administration that we've talked about. But you had to be a wonk or somebody who actually was following along every single day. And one thing that happened last Saturday, it was during a quite unfortunate event, but the effect of it was that you got the attention of people who weren't paying attention. And now everybody's judging it in a different way. And the people who were judging it before are looking at this going, can they do anything right? And the answer is no. And they look at a commander-in-chief who refuses. The buck doesn't even stop with him, because it never started with him, according to him. And these are and everything is broken And it gets down to the mindset and the culture that is set and put in place, into motion by any president. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. It is an ultimate, complete breakdown of the entire administration.
Well, tonight, can former President Trump have what I call the Great Reset to reintroduce himself and the Republican Party to an electorate that's looking to put him back in office?
Can't wait for the speech.
According to the polls.
It is going to be interesting to listen to, and of course, we're going to have all the audio from night 4 as former President Trump wraps it up tonight, the GOP convention in Milwaukee.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.